Let's talk about sex.
Maybe.
Welcome to the XOUNDcast. The XOUNDcast is the podcast from xounds, the app to discover authentic audio erotica, as well as to record and share it anonymously. Hey, I'm Cornelia, the co-founder of xounds, and on the XOUNDcast I invite guests to talk to me about diversity and innovation around sexuality and intimacy. Join the journey in the XOUNDcast and start exploring the power of authentic audio erotica in the xounds app now. Welcome to the XOUNDcast.
Hello.
So the XOUNDcast is the podcast for xounds. Xounds is the app we're currently still building and which will launch very soon. It will be an AI-supported peer-to-peer platform to explore and share authentic audible pleasure in a safer space for consensual, inclusive, and diverse peer-to-peer audio content created by you, by the users. We have the vision to break with stereotypes and share real sexuality in a fast-growing and diverse audio format, from stories to sounds to tutorials to what else can you think of?
Tutorials, also like educational.
Educational content, true. Yeah. And the idea
also
is
music, can be sexy music or music to relax as well.
Really, whatever you can come up with, because the idea is that it's from you, from amateur creators, and you can choose to stay anonymous if you want to. And you can always keep control and ownership of your data. So this is xounds.
Yeah.
And this is our podcast. We are your hosts for today. I'm Cornelia and this is
Gabor.
And before we dive into who we actually are and all the questions we want to answer, we're gonna start with an icebreaker question.
Yes.
Do you want to start?
Should I start? Okay. So if you have to choose one superpower, which superpower it would be?
Oh, no. I wanted to ask you exactly the same.
I love it.
Okay. My superpower.
Maybe like you Googled as well? No, I didn't Google.
No, it's one of the typical ones, right?
Yes.
So I think I would love to read other people's mind.
Yeah, that's nice. You're Charles Xavier from X-Men. Okay.
I have no idea, but yeah, if you say so.
And control. Would you like to read them, but also would you like to control them?
I don't want to manipulate
just
them.
A little bit.
I mean, of course, coming from politics, coming from marketing and communication as kind of my major focus in business, of course, the manipulation of people's minds is an interesting thing, especially in times like this. So there's a lot of people right now who I would like to manipulate in kind of normal thinking for me, because I'm like, what the hell is going on with this world?
But it would be wrong.
Exactly. My ethics would speak against it.
I see.
Maybe I could have that power, but I would very rarely use it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. I exactly wanted to ask you the same thing, but I wanted to give you a choice. So
okay.
maybe
do it.
If I could ask it. So my icebreaker was also what superpower would you like to have? And I wanted to give you the choice between being invisible or being able to fly.
So interesting. I mean, like flying, it's the one of the like main superpowers, one of the first ones. But I don't know. I would like to be invisible. Actually, I think it's super interesting.
But constantly or changing?
No, I can decide if I want to be visible or not. Yeah. I don't know. I think I would like to. I don't know. There's something that's like kind of philosophic in it, or I don't know. Have you ever watched Heroes, this television show?
No.
No, there's also this one guy. He can be invisible, but he's like stealing a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I wouldn't do this.
Now you can kind of make out a little bit what our characters are like.
Yeah, I'm the nerd.
And I probably sound like someone who wants to have too much power, which I'm not, I would say.
Yeah, okay, but now.
But let's dive into the question that we're being asked all the time, and that is the reason why we thought maybe we just start a podcast and start answering all of these questions, but especially this one. So that question is...
Yeah, and like people keep asking this question all the time, and it's how you actually came up with this idea.
Yeah, how did you get this idea? Yeah. It's every time we talk to people, no matter if it's at a business fair, at a business event, like a pitch event, or if we're actually in the sex positive community in Berlin, Germany, where we are based, and we go out to the community to talk with them and find out, do they actually like a product like xounds, and if so, what do they need to feel safe and good? They keep asking, this is so good, but how did you come up with it? So yeah, how did we come up with it?
I think like everything started with a match, right? We matched on a dating app, and on our first dates, we actually were talking a lot about everything, about like politics, society, about music, of course, and also about sexuality. And it was like super kind of like easygoing, like it was easygoing to talk about sexuality, how different it is for you as a woman or for me as a man, like how our feelings are different. And
kind of more, I think at the start when we started talking about it, more in the context of dating, right? So it was more kind of like, okay, so we met at this dating app, so you're probably dating other people, I'm dating other people. What's your experience like?
Yeah.
And we found that the experience are quite different, actually. And I don't know, because it was so easy to talk to you, I kind of asked you a few questions, I think, that were puzzling to me, especially when I was dating men. And maybe the same round. I can't remember what questions you asked me, but I definitely had a few questions where like, okay, so you as a dude...
Yeah, definitely. It was like kind of this, like, you could ask me everything. And I mean, like, at this point, I was a stranger to you, right? Yeah. Like, so you could ask everything. And maybe, like, if I don't like you, I just piss off. Like, so you can piss off. So it was like kind of like, was an easy frame where we could, like, have this conversation.
And I have to admit, it's not that this was my typical thing. It just kind of... I think we had like a very nice vibe to feel comfortable with each other and kind of laugh as well about funny stuff or weird stuff. And so it was like really nice to talk about it. And then we didn't end up as the successful dating app couple that got married and stuff, but we became really good friends. And then a few years later, I think 3 years later or something in our friendship, we were still talking about all of this, and I think I'm really happy that we actually found each other as friends and having such an open style of communication, which I realized I don't even have with a lot of friends, or didn't have at that moment in time. And because I was opening up with you, and I learned a lot about experiences that you were sharing with me, and the other way around, I was kind of opening myself up to the queer community. I was experimenting a lot and all kinds of things in queer and sex positivity. And we were sharing all these experiences and we're learning from each other, with each other. So I took a lot of this and actually took it into my other friendships and opened up there as well, asked questions, learned about the experiences of my friends, no matter what gender they are. So we basically found each other in like 3 years in our friendship, in having the idea of, hey, what is out there is not really what speaks to all of us, like especially when it comes to conventional pornography, when we're looking for some inspiration.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you can share your experience with conventional pornography.
I mean, of course, like it can be kind of interesting, but it's always like, okay, you go to a certain website and it's shady and you don't know, like you see a lot of things as well, like you don't want to see, but you already have seen it because like you just see the first picture, you scroll through the feed, and we found out that actually like the inspiration we can have, and it doesn't matter if it's like as a man or as a woman, isn't actually not that what we want, right? And it's also not like how our sexual life looks like.
That's the thing, I think, because we kind of explored the sex positive community in Berlin so much, and like the friends we had their lives and maybe even our lives, they sounded and seemed so much more interesting than what we've seen in those videos. And we felt like, okay, of course, a lot of us were consuming pornography, but we all felt what we see in real life or what we actually live in real life is so much more exciting, and we don't feel represented by basically the cliches and the stereotypes that I just constantly repeated.
And I think like if you don't feel represented, you don't feel inspired as well, right? You know, it comes like to feel inspired comes with that you have to be represented somehow, right?
Yeah, because the thing, one of my main issues that I have with the conventional video pornography is I think I am a very visual person, and then I'm suddenly presented with this like website, which often doesn't even look safe. It's like random pop-ups and stuff. And already I'm like, what is this? Like, is that safe for my computer, but also is it safe for me to watch and for the people on it, and for the brain as well? And then, like, my experience is only watching porn with male kind of partners. So then or most of the time he would choose something, and then I'm looking at this body, which is like typical, stereotypical, perfect, big boobs, really skinny, long hair stuff. And then I would compare myself. Like I'm sitting there and of course I have a reaction, but often I'm like, why does this woman look like this? Is that something that he really likes? And then also, why is this guy looking like this? Why are their faces looking like this? Are they actually happy doing this? How many takes did they have to get this into the lock and stuff? So my brain is doing all of these thoughts and I don't really feel good at the end of it because I'm not sure if all these questions, and instead of really relaxing, I feel kind of anxious about all of this, like not knowing if it's really a safe, consensual thing that I just watched there, and also not feeling great with myself, not being fully happy with my own experience here. I kind of feel detached with from the partner as well, actually, because we both were staring at the screen, but we didn't really have that interaction so much with each other. You know, this kind of thing. This is like kind of my experience I had a lot. So when I don't know, I kept trying it, to be honest, but I never felt amazing afterwards. So I was always like, it's not really my go-to. And then, of course, I'm kind of lucky because it always was easy to me with partners if I'm really attracted to a person. And also when it comes to self-pleasure, to just really have my fantasy bringing me to exactly what I need, and the interaction with the person, if there's a person, to just bring me up to where I have to get to then really enjoy sexuality, you know? So I'm probably luckier than other people there, but of course I do like some inspiration, but I just didn't feel good enough with the typical thing.
It's not authentic, right? It is like produced, and like people look a certain way to do certain things, but everything is like staged, and so, and that's also like then back to like our friends. What they also like told us is like, sexual inspiration is actually nice, but I don't find anything that really like inspires me because it's not authentic. It's not like it's not how my sexual life looks like, or you know, it's not what I do, or it's not what I want to do. So, and then we kept like asking a bit, like, or like talking to friends and people, and they told us like, hey, you know, it would be interesting, like, if I just can listen to something. And also, like, people told us, like, hey, I lived in a shared flat and I heard my flatmates having sex, and they were like, but it also was kind of inspiring a little bit, you know? And then, like, it was like, oh, interesting. And then as well, like, because we want to have it authentic, we asked, like, would you also record something? If no one can see you, like, no one knows that it's you will be anonymous, so it's audio only. And a lot of people told us, like, hey, yeah, actually I would do it. It sounds interesting. It also sounds like something, like, it's a bit like sexy. It's like a hot
the recording thing. Itself,
yeah,
right?
recording yourself.
The idea of sharing something, but knowing that you don't have to fear that there will be a stigma around it, because no one knows it's you.
So it's you can spicy up your sexual life a little bit as well with it, you know, because it's like, oh, we're recording ourselves, but hey, it's like no one knows it's us, and also then like other people listen to it, and it's like a soundtrack for their fantasies, because they then have in mind their person they're attracted to, and they're, you know, so it's yeah. So yeah, it's basically just a soundtrack for your fantasies, and so, and that's also like kind of like the main idea for Xounds, what we're
Exactly
doing at the moment.
Yeah, so we had the idea, and then we went on. We're like, okay, how good is that idea? And wouldn't it be fun to call it this or that? And then we had like this little note in our iPhones, and
Yes.
we're like playing around with different ideas.
We still have this note.
How we exactly
And
the
it's
note
still
is
gold.
still present to this day. And we were like playing around, like what could be a good name for a product like this, and more and more also, I think we had like one of the headlines was like security or safety or something. We're like, okay, what could be a thing that abuses like a nice thing like this, and then how could we solve that problem? So we were like just gathering everything, like from fun ideas to how to market it potentially, to what could we name it, to what features do we want in the app, and how can we make it safe, what is the technology we could potentially use. It was all in this little note, and it was really just a fun project still. We were still working full-time in different jobs, and then I think we already agreed on a name, right? I think Xounds came up quite early.
It was so quick. It was so early and quick with Xounds, like in a speech and like in a message. Like we had like some ideas, and then blah blah blah, and then oh yeah, Xounds, that's it.
Yeah, then we checked, is it free? Is the domain free? Can we take it? We parked the domain maybe already? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then you started designing the logo.
Yeah. Just because I'm a designer, and I like to design things. I have my input and my output folder, and just for fun, sometimes I do like a poster or a logo, because like, you know, when I have an idea, then this for me it's like a person, and I need to have a face. I need to see the face of this person, and the logo is the face. And so I just did a logo or some logos and sent you like, hey, if we would do this app, like could this be a logo we use? And then you were like, hey, okay.
I was like, okay, you're taking it really serious. Like, I see. And then and then I was like, I like this. And then we chose the logo very early on. And then we were still like just like making fun of it. And then suddenly, like 1 or 2 or whatever weeks later, you suddenly sent me these screen designs. And then I was like, whoa, Gabor, this is basically a prototype.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where my background in political science on one hand kind of was feeding a lot into how would we possibly feel safe, and how could we actually create a platform that is kind of a revolution of what we know so far, but also where my background in business administration played in. And I was like, well, it's not rocket science really. I've written business plans before. I've worked in the startup world. I've seen the tasks of a CEO like firsthand. Why don't we try it actually? Would you be up for it, kind of?
Yeah.
And it sounded very silly at the start, but then
also like very like fun.
Fun. It was definitely fun, but it was still like, could we actually pull it off? Because we're not technical, right? So so then we actually went out to our technical friends though, and we're like, okay, I did a little bit of research before, like what could potentially work and how could we use AI? Because I think since I had this one political job years ago where I was kind of an advisor on innovation and the economic relations between countries, I've seen and learned so much about AI, and I've kind of been fascinated about all the great things you can do with it, but also, of course, the dangers of not doing it in an ethical, inclusive way. So I was like, I think it could be possible to actually do like a check of people giving consent and checking the voices. So doing like kind of working with voice recognition AI to make it safe. And we weren't really sure though. I was like, I'm pretty sure there's something like this out there.
We already had a name as well, like the sound check.
Yeah.
I can remember I was like here in Berlin for a little concert, and then they were like, oh, we still need to do the sound check. And I was like, sound check? sound check, like so we had like the idea in the name, and then we went out to like our techie friends and told or asked them like, hey, like it's theoretical, would it work or not? Like, could it work or not?
Yeah, and then we got like, because we have different friends who work in different sites and on programming, also AI parts, and they were all like, yeah, it's totally possible. Not necessary that there's a model like this, and there's not necessarily already exactly in place what we need, but technologically it's possible to create. And we're like, okay, that's all we needed to know. And then we went on with it, and it happened that I lost my job because the project I was working in, which was also kind of a political project, didn't get more funding, and they asked me if I wanted to go to a different position, but I kind of felt like I didn't want to, and I really felt like this idea was so good and I really wanted to see it grow. So I ask you, what do you think? Shall we try? And will I start writing a business plan, finance plan, come up with a business model and all of this?
Yeah, and then as well, my contract expired, and they also offered me another position. But as well, I said like, hey, to be honest, I want to do my own project, and I mean like, we had so much stuff already. Like we had like the click dummy or prototype. We had a lot of marketing ideas, and you were like, hey, I can write a business plan. I was like, oh, nice, you can do rocket science for me. And
I think even before your contract was finished, we already went out to the Berlin Pride parade, and you had like loads of flyers printed with the idea. Basically, it was really just the idea, and I prepared like a few interview questions, and we really went out on like Berlin Pride and talked to like at least 100 people. And ask them, what do you think of this idea? Would you use it? Would you only listen to it? What would you need from it? And we got a lot of nice replies. And then we were like, okay, really, from the notes I've taken, I can put this into like maybe around 50 like replies that we can really use, that we're not completely party drunk blurb. And then we created a survey made of it. So that was even before you quit your job or like kind of didn't renew your contract. That we had some kind of proof of concept. Very light, of course, but we already went out there and tested the idea. Is it just us and our crazy friends who love the idea, or is it really something people who don't know us would like to have? And it was so positive.
Yeah, I mean, like we assumed a lot of things, like from our perspective, and the survey showed that, like, hey, we are actually right with the feelings we have, or with the ideas, or we have, and. And then, I mean, like, we went on and in the startup scene, like, we were checking out certain
so
things.
that was basically then the first year of xounds that we were both full-time. We found someone who wanted to join us technically, and we also got a volunteer in to actually help us with the MVP development, which we did with a no-code tool. So we already were growing, and we also found that people would like to work with us quite easily. But of course we needed funding, and we wanted to have something bigger external also to give us the feedback that this is really something they can support, and an idea that is also on a business level like a nice idea, not just like a nice to have for consumers, but also it makes sense on the business side. So we got this when we were accepted to the Berlin Startup Scholarship last year, and we joined this team. Then they were like the team or batch, I think they call it. We joined the batch of the Startup Scholarship, which is also connected to a university here in Berlin, and we had like really nice coaches, and we're like in all of these programs. We had a monthly UX testing where we met so many cool people, again giving us feedback, asking the question about like, how did you come up with it?
And like also like people ask like why no one else before had this idea, and I was like, well, I don't know, maybe people had, but they didn't like worked on it. I mean, like for me as well, it's like this. I mean, we all often have ideas, and I often have an idea in my head, and then I work on it like for 2 weeks or something, and then I just put it into my output folder, and that's it. And this is the first idea. I'm working on it now for almost 2 years, constantly developing the idea and everything behind it, testing it, and it's the first crazy idea, and also maybe the craziest idea like I or we had together. we kept working on.
Yes, exactly. Like definitely the first that we did together, and also same. Like I have two sisters, and all my life we every Sunday basically when we were still living together as kids and teenagers, we spent the Sunday thinking about all kinds of things we could do in life to make the world a better place. That was always like our mission. And I would say a lot of it was just thoughts and ideas, and we never really went to convert them into practice enough. I mean, we all went out and learned like jobs where we could do good and could be creative. We're definitely creators, I would say, but we never really like founded an idea or a company like this before. Although I've worked in leadership positions, so I have like a lot of I think I've learned a lot in the years that I was working from how to build a company, how to lead a company. But this really like building from scratch is a new thing, and it's super exciting, I think. So this is definitely a thing that we want to also showcase in this, like in podcast and the xoundcast, and we will invite other founders where we met already in this journey, but we also will meet going forward in this journey, and it is super exciting. And I feel like we're learning a lot about ourselves, about not only the whole world of startups, but the tech world as well, which is very special. And we're
The
very
world of pleasure.
The world of pleasure, absolutely. The world of sex tech, the restrictions you have when you talk about sexuality in an open and authentic way, and if you actually just want to do sexual education. Especially on the big platforms, there's like so many restrictions, and we really want to use this podcast as well to show that to a lot of people who don't know. So maybe it helps people to be better informed, but of course also xounds will be there for this. I mean, we are an adult platform only, so there will be no like censoring or shadow banning of all the good intimacy and sexual content. And it will be exciting to have that, I guess.
Yes, of course. It's super exciting. I mean, like we also like supported now from the Exist scholarship.
Yeah, it's another scholarship here in Germany, and we're working with my old university together on it. And of course, I think I'm mostly grateful for the little team we've grown already. So we're all working together and building the app, which is almost finished, because we really believe in the mission and we really like creating together. So yeah, it's super exciting.
It is, of course. Like as like a first-time founder, like doing something, like have an idea and then like start building it, and like in the beginning also like doing everything actually kind of, right? You know, I mean, even though I'm a designer, I also do like other stuff, like you always like work on everything. And
of course it shifted like our relationship, like from being really close friends who've met in this like not ordinary way, and to be actually work colleagues now and
co-founders.
Exactly, and leading a team together as well. So it's a lot we learned about each other, I think, about ourselves as well. And I'm very proud of your developments, and it's so cool to see. I mean, I'm doing a lot of things I've never done before, but I also see that you're not just a designer, you're a product manager, you're managing the team when it comes to the product development, and that's huge.
Yeah, thank you. Also, I like everything you do, and I like that you always like that you like give this idea the right political like platform or like idea, or like you spark like the sparks. You spice it up, like that. It's not only like a sexual content platform, but also that it is like a revolutionary project, and it has like political meaning in it. It is something for the society, so it's not just like the next shady sexual app. It is something important. So that's what you do, and I'm happy for it that you like go up on every stage, and and I can be the cheerleader, like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I like that we can share this, or like splits. I mean, like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just like a really good team in that sense, because we are quite different people from different backgrounds, different skills, different things that we love, and we just combine it really well, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a good mix.
Think so too. So I think so. In this podcast, mostly you will host, or like it's mostly your podcast.
Exactly.
I will join from time to time if I have something to say. And that's the plan for the future with this podcast.
Yeah, we already have recorded a few really nice episodes together with partners that we've met in the last year from the sex tech and sex positive scene. So you can look forward to interesting short, we always keep it like short, between 30 to 40 minutes, interviews with sex educators, with coaches, with social media managers who focus on the sex tech and sex educational content and a lot of the things they experience in that. We have interesting companies who also have a similar mission and who support us in our mission and who we really support in their mission in creating better products for sexual health. And yeah, there's a lot going on. And if you ever feel like there's something missing, please let us know. Like, again, we're very community focused with our app, but also with the Xouncast. If there's any topic or any question you have for us, please let us know.
Or if you want to be a guest in the podcast.
Of course, if you have something to say and you feel like, hey, this is the perfect platform, I want to be guest in the Xouncast, just let us know. And of course, it will be hosted on xounds. Xounds will be launching very soon, and we will always host our episodes on xounds first, and then we release them on other platforms so you can listen and maybe sometimes watch them wherever you feel homely. So that is basically the outlook.
Yes. Okay. I don't have anything to say. Like anymore, like I have nothing to say. Yeah. Nothing left.
I'm looking forward to it and can't wait for any input, feedback, questions, and all the amazing interviews we will have.
Yes. So
see you
bye
soon.
Bye.
That was the Xouncast, produced by me, Cornelia, the co-founder of xounds. Did you like the episode? Then please leave us some feedback and download the xounds app directly from your app store. There, you can listen to and experience authentic, audible pleasure and let us hear for yourself what that means to you. Are you curious? We want to hear more from you.